Okay, so yeah, welcome back to the channel. This video is coming at you rather spontaneously, to be fair, because obviously it is the international break, and with the international break comes international thoughts. That's not that No, that's not what I meant by that, but what I mean is, yeah, I've been thinking and contemplating mostly about football, to be fair, because, yeah, that's all I really think about, to be fair, other than the dark demons in the back of my head. I don't know why I've said that, because I don't really have that many, to be fair, but nevertheless, I suppose it'll stay in the video. But, yeah, just before any of you check up on me, specifically my father, because he does watch these videos, and my brother, I am okay, I promise. But yeah, I'm just making this video really randomly, because I went for a walk today, and I've been thinking about Graham Potter, and yeah, just his overall situation at Chelsea Football Club right now, because I think it's fair enough to say that he's not looked upon with that much fondness by the Chelsea fan base at this moment in time. Obviously, you know, there's 90 to 95% of the fan base, I'd go as far as to say, that don't want Graham Potter as our manager and would be happy to see the back of him and be happy to see him sacked. And to be fair, I think I've been one of the only Chelsea fans, really, part of the massive minority, to be fair, in terms of Chelsea fans that have not hounded the guy out, first of all, but also not, you know, categorically, definitively said they want Graham Potter not to be the manager anymore. And yeah, I suppose in this video, I'm going to be showcasing you my reasons as to why I'm behind Graham Potter, why I'm still backing Graham Potter, and yeah, why I think that we should be, you know, sticking with Graham Potter, at least for now. So yeah, let's just get straight into it without much more chat. So first of all, I want to say, you know, I just think that a lot of Chelsea fans, I think, are stuck with that mentality issue, that mentality hat that Roman Abramovich instilled in Chelsea fans from the moment he stepped in the door until the moment he left, of course, you know, last summer. In terms of the fact that I think the mentality instilled from Roman is that a lot of Chelsea fans think now, with managers that come in the door, if you haven't won something within the first, you know, 5-10 minutes of you setting foot inside Cobham, you're useless, you know nothing, and you're just, yeah, clueless in terms of football overall, which I think is, yeah, like I said, just instilled from the Roman Abramovich era, when, of course, it was the hiring and firing scenario of managers, where we bring in a manager, he'd do well in the short term, and then, you know, he'd just fuck off, really, and leave or get sacked. And look, one thing I just want to say is, we've seen over the course of Roman Abramovich's era that is, in my opinion anyway, not sustainable, and that's what Todd Bowley is trying to change, from my knowledge anyway, from my perspective, and what it looks like he's trying to do. Hence why I think Graham Potter hasn't been sacked yet and has been, you know, backed by the owners for the most part, because I think it's fair to say that if Roman Abramovich was in charge, first of all, I don't think Graham Potter would have been appointed in the first place, and second of all, I think that he would have been sacked probably on 5 or 6 occasions by now. And the reason I say it wasn't sustainable necessarily, this, you know, trigger happy mentality when it comes to hiring and firing new managers, the reason I think it's unsustainable long term is, if you really look at it, right, so let's say Roman Abramovich, he was at Chelsea for, let's say, roughly 20 years, just under 20 years. We've won, in that 20 years, 5 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues, 2 Europa Leagues, 1 Super Cup, 1 Club World Cup, and a few FA Cups and a few Carabao Cups. And look, don't get me wrong, that's been massively successful, and obviously is by some far and away the most successful era we've had as Chelsea fans in the history of the club, really, going back to when we were formed in 1905. But if you really look into it further, right, I'd say, let's say 20 minus 5, we'll say 18, because he was at the club for, you know, 18 odd years. 18 minus 5, that's 13 seasons. In those 13 seasons, we were fighting for the title towards the last games of the season in, what, 4, 5 at most? I think of, in reverse order, 13-14 under Mourinho when we came third behind Liverpool and Man City, 10-11 when Ancelotti came second fiddle to Man United after the mid-season collapse, 07-08 under Avram Grant when it went to the last day of the season, 06-07 Mourinho's last full season in charge. I suppose you could count 03-04 as well under Ranieri in Roman's first season in charge of Chelsea overall. But yeah, that's roughly, what, 7 or 8 seasons where Chelsea have been nowhere near title race in Roman Abramovich's era, especially towards the end. I mean, our last Premier League title was in 2016-17, and ever since that we've been absolutely nowhere near any form of title race whatsoever. But at the same time, with the financial power Chelsea have had over the years, there's no doubt whatsoever that we really should have been competing for Premier League titles every single season in Roman Abramovich's era, hence why at the moment we are 10th in the table with absolutely no ambitions or aspirations whatsoever of a realistic title race, let alone finishing in the top 4. And that's why I think that this model under Todd Bowley's ownership could be a lot more sustainable, in terms of the fact that Chelsea fans for a number of years now, I can't think how many times Chelsea fans have been crying out for project managers. And yes, you can say maybe Potter isn't the project manager you want or whatever, but at the end of the day, he is a project manager, and he's the project manager we have at this moment in time. And I think for Chelsea fans, we're just gonna somewhat have to suck it up a little bit and get through these years of shit, really. And I know, Chelsea fans, I'm not saying whatsoever that you should shift your mentality completely from Roman in terms of demanding success, because at the end of the day, we are still Chelsea Football Club. I do understand that in my heart of hearts, but I think at some point down the line, with the way we were going under Roman Abramovich, we were going to have a spell like this where we were going to hit the and I think Graham Potter is the manager, unfortunately, that this mess has fallen on, really, that he inherited from Thomas Tuchel. And to be honest, there was a phrase I thought of that I heard Adam McCullough speak about a few years ago as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer started off at Manchester United, and that was something along the lines of, I can accept poor results if I can see progress on the pitch and off the pitch as well, which is why I can accept somewhat the dire run of form we have been on this season. And look, shifted back from this season, because this season has been over since it began, really, you know, from the opening days of the season with the 3-0 loss at Elland Road, losing 2-1 at Southampton, and we never had a sniff of the title race all season. That wasn't even our ambition at the start of the season, which you think it would do given the fact that for the first year under Tuchel we were looking like, in my opinion, the best team in the world by some distance, given the Champions League run, the tactical essence we showed in the Champions League, and in the first half of the 2021-22 campaign, where we were brushing aside teams like it was no one's business by 3 or 4 goals every single week. And look, I will admit, maybe you can call me delusional, I have seen signs of progress in the style of play that Graham Potter wants to set up with. I have studied Graham Potter and his managerial system for however long now, and to be fair, I've definitely seen progress in these last, 3 or 4 games, particularly the ones against Dortmund and Leicester, and even the draw against Everton as well, where we were unfortunate to concede 2 goals from completely out of nowhere, which I know is not acceptable. I won't, sugarcoat it. But yeah, like I said, long story short, I do think we have seen progress in the style of play under Graham Potter in recent weeks, in terms of the style of play that Graham Potter wants us to set up with long term in that, 3 at the back system. Although Graham Potter is a manager that doesn't really have a defined formation, so to speak, and he does like to be flexible and, to detect deficiencies or I suppose weak areas in opponent's style of plays to obviously capitalise on. And I think especially in terms of the fact that the January transfer window, the likes of Enzo Fernandez, who's made a massive impact on this team since he's come in, Joao Felix, who's made a massive impact on this team since he's come in, Benoit Badiashile, who's looked an absolute Rolls Royce since he's come in at centre back, and as well particularly with the return of, players who were injured like Reece James, Ben Chilwell, Wes Fofana, in those, games where we had a massively dire run of form between, the few games before the World Cup and the few games after the World Cup. So I think that the return of those players and the additions of Enzo, Felix and Badiashile have really made an impact on this team and have allowed Potter to express himself more in the setup he wants Chelsea to play. And I just think with potentially 2 or 3 more signings, especially with Christopher Nkunku coming in according to Fabrizio Romano and a lot more outlets as well who are reliable, Malo Gusto coming in as well, who will offer you a lot of stability and a lot of assurance behind Reece James for when Reece James does get injured, because he has been proven he can be a little bit injury prone. And like I said as well, with Nkunku in there as well, who will add a lot more invention, spark, creativity and something different in that attacking line next season for Chelsea. And I think those 2 players, added with potentially a holding midfielder to start with, another number 9 maybe, whether it be a different profile to Havertz or a very similar one, and maybe a goalkeeper. There has been question marks over Kepa and whether he's good enough to be Chelsea's number 1 long term. For me personally, I wouldn't be against either option, whether it be Kepa staying as number 1 or, being replaced by someone like David Raya or Diogo Costa, for example. And I think with those 2 or 3 signings, plus of course Nkunku and Gusto, like I mentioned, I think it could allow Graham Potter to operate more adequately with this Chelsea team, and I think you could really start to, reap the benefits of this Chelsea team in this style of play that Graham Potter, like I keep saying, wants to put into place in this Chelsea team. Especially added as well to a full pre-season under Graham Potter next season, squad being trimmed as well, because it's no secret we have an absolutely gargantuan squad right now of I think 34 first team players, so not only is the wage bill absolutely off the scale, but Graham Potter, to be fair, can't even do 11v11 matches in training because he has 3 11s and 1 more player as well added to that, as well as youth players like Lewis Hall, Amari Hutchinson, etc. And with this pre-season and the squad being trimmed to just players that Graham Potter wants in this system going forward, will show enhancement in familiarity with Graham Potter's system and the identity that he wants to bring to Chelsea. And that's what I think that we should do for at least the short term, is stick with Graham Potter, at least give him a pre-season, give him the 2 or 3 signings like I said with Nkunku and Gusto in the summer. And look, if things go up next season, then yeah, fair enough, maybe he wasn't the man. But I think at this moment in time, I'm still behind Graham Potter. Hey there, why are you not subscribed, huh? Unless you are, in which case just ignore this message. According to the stats, nearly 80% of you aren't subscribed to this channel. What the f***'s that about, huh? Subscribe! And leave a like while you're at it as well. Cheers. Love ya. And look, I'm not just absolutely licking the arse off Graham Potter overall, because I am one as well that does have a little bit of question marks that, to be fair, everyone has, because they are unanswered questions right now. 2 in particular, which, first of all, is it too big a job for him? Because obviously his only experience in professional management that is of note is Östersunds in Sweden, where he did a very good job, Swansea in the Championship, and Brighton in the Premier League. And don't get me wrong, he's done exceptional jobs at all 3 of those clubs. But no disrespect to those clubs, Chelsea Football Club is a completely different different scale, and I'd say that for any club that he went to, like United, your Arsenals, your Man Cities. And the second one is he mentally able to get the best out of this team and get titles out of this team? Because it's one thing for, you know, someone like Brighton getting them into the top half of the table consistently, but it is a completely different thing to win titles with a team, because it takes a mentality beast to get titles out of a team. And is Graham Potter equipped to do so mentally? As I said, those are two questions that are unanswered for me and for you, and probably for Graham Potter himself, to be fair, as well. So I guess we'll find out overall is the quick answer to those two questions. And look, at the end of the day, one thing I will say is everything I've said in this video, there is no guarantees and there's no evidence or proof that I am right or wrong, the same way that you watching this video, there's no evidence whatsoever that you are right or wrong. So literally, it's just a simple game of opinions right now. I've given mine. Leave yours down in the comment section below, particularly Chelsea fans. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of this one, and are you still backing Potter? Although it's extremely unlikely, maybe this video has given you a little bit more patience. If not, I completely understand. But yeah, that's my opinion on Graham Potter and why I'm still behind Graham Potter. But yeah, obviously I'm not delusional enough to think that the current season for Chelsea has been acceptable, and obviously I think that I just want to forget about it, to be fair. Go into next season with a bit more optimism, hopefully get a good pre-season under our belts, whether it is with Graham Potter or not, and yeah, see Chelsea winning titles again, which is exactly all I've been used to as a child growing up supporting Chelsea since I came out the womb, pretty much. So yeah, that'll bring us to the end of this video. If you did enjoy this video, whether you agreed with my opinion or not, please do leave a like on the video. It would be massively appreciated as per usual, and also if you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would be massively appreciated. We're so close now to 2,000 subscribers on this channel, so every single one of you that hits that subscribe button would be an absolute king in getting me there as soon as bloody possible. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video, and yeah, chat to you later.